Welcome into Lost in the Plot, the podcast where we overthink movies, books, and TV shows. And today we're going to be getting lost in the plot of Catching Fire, the second Hunger Games movie. I'm still baffled by the fact that you haven't seen these movies at all until
I've
like
never
right
seen
this second. And by that I mean like a couple days ago.
I've never seen any of the Hunger Games movies. I've never read the books. I was never into them when I was younger. I'm watching them for the first time for this podcast.
That's so crazy.
That's a unique perspective, I hope.
It is a unique. I don't think I've talked to somebody in depth about the Hunger Games who's just seen it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've met somebody who hasn't seen them. So especially this far after they've been released.
This movie's fresh for me.
Yeah.
So I was very pleasantly surprised.
Really? What did you think was going to happen? Like as far as how good it was going to be?
I expected it to be the games again. I think that's kind of the pitfall that you typically fall into as a creator. You know, the first one does really well. The second one is the first one again. But I was very pleasantly surprised. It was rewarding to think back on the conversation we had in the first episode about it, because I felt like everything that I was interested in, all the concerns that I raised, all the things that I wanted to see more of in the world and these characters, really got explored in this one. I think that the central premise of doing the games again, bringing back all of the winners, and forcing Katniss and Peeta to go on this tour of all the different districts in advance, I think it was a great way to build on the world, to expand the characters, to do the games again in a way that's not just one-to-one. You know, it's the games again, but with a twist. And I think that the way that the story ends really pushes the plot forward in a very fascinating way.
Yeah, and the cliffhanger and what happens next now that everything's kind of in shambles.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We still haven't even gotten into the plot. But just your first impressions about how the movie opens. I'll kind of set the scene. The movie does something similar a little bit to the Hunger Games, except for I feel like they spend more time in the district in this one than they did in the first one. Because I didn't look at the timestamps or anything, but we're there for a while.
Yeah.
Like it starts with Katniss hunting in the woods, and she has a PTSD episode, and then the Capitol sends in security forces, and then like Gale gets in trouble, and then it's this slow build to the tour, the Victor's tour, which I guess happens right before the next Hunger Games, and then they go on the tour, and then you get into like the Capitol, and then what transpires there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a slower build than the first movie. They give you more about the district this time around than they did the first time, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah, you get the sense in the first Hunger Games that the situation is bad, that these people don't have a lot, that their government is repressive. In the second film, you really linger there. You see, Peeta, and you see Katniss and the Victor's village, and it's nice, but it's not super luxurious. The district's definition of luxury is still squalor. And you really spend more time with the people of the district. You see what kind of houses they live in, what their markets look like, the policing that they endure. It's very satisfying to develop those ideas.
Yeah.
And really spend time with these characters. I really like how one of the big questions at the end of the first film was what's real and what's pretend or what's fiction. What did Katniss and Peeta have to adopt to play for the cameras, to survive the games? And then what are their authentic feelings? Who does Katniss actually like? And how much of it is just a performance? The second film doubles down on that immediately. It has her hanging out with Gale. Gale is jealous of her connection to Peeta. Her status as a victor has set her apart from him in a lot of important ways. And then immediately we get Katniss and Peeta on TV being forced to play nice for the cameras. They're forced to share a kiss. And Peeta asks her how much of it was real. So it's very front and center, this idea of they have to perform. They have to put on an act. And it's interesting that, you'd expect maybe a less talented storyteller to maybe open with, you have the first act, which rapidly sets up the games, and then the second act begins, and you're instantly into the games. But I think in this one, what we get instead is the second act is the tour.
Yeah,
it really
kind of
starts off.
Yeah.
And so the second act I feel like the midpoint of the story is where the games begin.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the inciting incident is this performance. They have to perform for the capital. They have to dance to the music that Snow and his government are playing. And so it immediately it expands the scope of the repressive government outside of just the games, and shows how it affects and controls every aspect of their life.
Yeah, yeah, and this one feels different, I think, also because things feel out of the ordinary.
Mm.
The first one, you could tell their life sucks. Like there's nothing really redeeming about the life that they're living, and the capital is really repressive, and it sucks. But whenever Katniss and Peeta go on the tour, and then before that, the security forces get there. Is that before that or after that? I can't remember.
The security forces come on in a couple of different times. They show up initially just as added security. You get the sense that there have been protests and riots, and then they come again in force under new management. After the engagement is announced, and that's when Gale ends up being beaten.
Yeah. And so it's not necessarily immediate, but I mean they start on the tour, and whenever they go on the tour, she starts to see people rising up, and then as soon as they rise up and just give something as simple as a hand gesture, that one guy's killed right in front of her.
Yeah.
And so it's like their life already sucked, but the way that the story is laid out is this is bad even for them. Something is shifting, and you just feel that as they go throughout the districts. In the book, they go into it a lot more. There's more speeches. You hear more of Katniss's inner thoughts about what's going on. She's processing it. Same with at the beginning of the movie, whenever she does say that, oh, it was just an act with Peeta in the games.
Yeah.
In the books, she's wrestling with it the whole time. Like in the first one and in the second one. Like the second book is really her inside of, like, you're inside of her mind for most of it. It drags it out. And so it's all condensed for the movie, which makes sense. But you do definitely get the sense that there is this shift, and I think they do that really well before they even get to the capital. That the people are starting to not put up with it anymore.
I think Snow appearing in the story so early is effective.
Yeah.
He shows up in person to Katniss's house.
And it's the first time they meet?
Yeah. Well, that's the first time they really meet. He gives her the award.
Yeah, you're right.
At the end of the first one.
It's the first real conversation they have, I feel like.
Yes. That one,
they meet.
Even then, it's performative at the ceremony at the end of the first one. It's a closed-door conversation, so it's a little less performative. But I really like the detail where he's showing her footage of her in the games. And then he starts to include footage of her just out and about in the community. Footage of her with Gale, footage of her with her family, just in her day-to-day life. It really reinforces the idea that in a totalitarian state, you're never not performing. Mm-hmm. You're always on.
Yeah, Someone's always watching. It's total in that sense.
Yeah.
Your entire life and your entire family, and there's nothing private in a regime like in Panem.
I'd like the added development of the world. There's a lot of ambiguity in the first one about how it's set up exactly. Do they have elections? What does their economy look like? They have this aggressively capitalistic news media with like this flair. You get the sense that they're marketing things, but then they have this rigid economic, segmentation that you would expect from more of a command economy where distinct districts produce distinct products. It was really satisfying to watch them delve into these different districts. They do a quick tour of them, so we don't spend a whole lot of time there. But you do see the specialization, you see the oppressive conditions, you see a lot more of the police in these communities. They're out in the fields, they're at the speeches, they're on the trains, they're out in the streets, they're depicted in the media stopping the riots. You see a lot more of it, and I think, looking at the first one, there was, from my point of view, an ambiguity of, well, what kind of system is this? I still think that it leans towards, kind of a more capitalist system with Soviet aesthetics.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think what is very tactfully done in this one is it includes just enough of everything that it comes across as a critique just of authoritarianism. The specifics are less important than the totalitizing aspects of the state.
Well, it has all the aesthetics. Like they introduced
Yeah.
the surveillance state.
Yes.
They introduce more of the authoritarian measures. That's just any state that has like a police state, if you
Mm.
will, a military state, is that has police state. It has police or it has surveillance. It has military.
Yeah.
It has the control of the economy and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's more of just trying to characterize it as an oppressive government rather than make a political stance necessarily.
Right. And so I think it's less, it's less a critique of one system specifically.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to read the Hunger Games as a one-to-one, this is what your life in this system is like, as much as you're supposed to read it as this is the type of thing that happens under authoritarianism. These are the kind of tactics tyrants use for control to divide a population. I think in this one, the inclusion of like news media and these flamboyant personalities,
Well,
that
and
you'd
this is
expect in like New York.
Yeah.
I think it's more effective in this one because it's a subtle suggestion to the viewer that their own system isn't as free as they think. People still get repressed. People are still forced to do things that they don't want to do.
Well, and he faces Caesar, the announcer, faces pushback whenever all the victors are up there, and they each try to appeal to the audience and say they give a specific reason why they shouldn't proceed with the games because they're victors, they shouldn't be having to do this again, and the audience fights back.
Yeah.
And that's whenever you start to see this is crumbling. There's something happening here, and so they do all these little things to kind of show that things are moving in a direction the Capitol doesn't want.
Yeah.
And I like in this one for Katniss, in the first one with Seneca Crane, he just seems like such a incompetent loser that's the reason why people have hope. She wasn't trying to be a symbol of hope.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to even rebel necessarily. She did think it was ridiculous, and she doesn't like the Capitol, but she was just trying to make sure both her and Peeta survived. And because Snow places it squarely on Seneca Crane's shoulders in the scene that's not in the book where they're in the garden, and he says, "A little hope is good, but too much is dangerous.
Yeah.
You have to keep the balance, and I hope you can." Whenever it fails, it makes it seem like, oh, it's Crane's fault. That's the reason why. But in this one, you have it open with Snow playing damage control.
Yeah.
And then she starts rolling on her own. And she starts fighting, and she tries to appease him. She does, but just even her trying to appease the tyrannical government doesn't work because the people aren't having it. So it's less about what she's even doing. It's like no matter what she does, the people are going to back her.
Yeah.
But later on in the film, she starts to take on more agency and make decisions for herself. And I think maybe that's why it felt kind of like I couldn't relate with her as much in the first one. I remember talking about that.
Yeah.
Whenever we talked about the first movie. In this one, she starts doing things for herself, and even if it may have dire consequences, she's still doing it because she wants to, and she's fighting back.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Snow, the beauty of the character is his subtlety. He can't convince everyone in Pan Am that Katniss didn't attempt the poison berry trick in the first one. What he tries to do instead is shift the meaning of it. To say, well, it wasn't done as an act of defiance against the state, it was done as an act of defiance against, or just as an act of romantic love. It was a Romeo and Juliet situation. It was just that you two loved each other. It wasn't a political statement.
it's the power of love, not the power of resistance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's this subtlety throughout the film where so much attention is paid to the meaning of things. It's not just what happened, but it's what's emphasized. In the scene where all of the winners, all the contestants are doing their interviews, they're showing off their outfits, they're giving their short speeches. There's this really good bit where she's forced to wear the wedding dress. There's this public fiction that's slowly becoming fact that she's engaged to marry Peeta, that she might be pregnant with his child. That's purely fiction. But the marriage is scheduled. And she spins in her dress, and the designer of her dress has adjusted it so that the wedding dress burns away, and it turns into this, the Mockingjay symbol that has come to symbolize her as a symbol of resistance, as a beacon.
Yeah, it's spray painted. It's spray painted on the wall whenever they go to District 11. I think it is it's
Yeah.
already starting to become the resistance symbol.
And there's this real beautiful attention to it because it's It's just the subtlety in symbols. Because the designer, he's beaten to death right in front of her as she's going up the elevator to these
Yeah,
games.
it's kind of messed up. Probably has a dual purpose.
Right.
Throws
Yeah.
her off and kills him.
Gets rid of resistance, throws her off her game. But just the idea of any symbolic resistance is not tolerated.
Right.
The symbol of the 3 fingers in the air, the old man who does it initially at, what is it, District 8 or something similar?
I thought they were at 11.
11?
Yeah.
I'm not remembering the exact one. It's the district.
It's Rue's district.
Yes, the district of Rue who she worked with and tried to save in the first film. So that district is very sympathetic towards her. There's an old man there who might be related to Rue, might just be another person in the district. It's not clear in the film. But he does the 3 finger in the air, the volunteering his tribute, and it kicks off a small riot. And he's the man who, as you mentioned, is shot right in front of him. Just even symbolic resistance. An acknowledgement that the system isn't fair, that resistance is possible, that you can interpret things a specific way, different than what the state wants you to. Even that isn't tolerated. And I think the beauty of the games is that it's not just the Hunger Games again. It's the next step in this battle for who is Katniss? What does she mean to the public? The first stage of that is this tour. The second stage of it is her in these games again. And I think it's a real fascinating character arc to put her on, because it's a different challenge. Now she doesn't just have to survive. She has to mean something to people who expect certain things of her, to expect her to be a certain way. And this time around, what Snow wants is for her to be a lot more violent, for her to act in ways that compromise the public's trust in her, their perspective of her as a beacon of hope. He wants her to go in and be brutal and act in her own self-interest and murder a bunch of people. And I think that the big central question at the heart of Catching Fire is, will you do that? When the state wants you to perform a certain way, will you perform? I think is the heart of the story.
Yeah. Whose tune are you gonna dance to?
Yeah.
Is it Snow's, or is it your own? This new untraveled path.
Yeah.
And speaking of the scene that you were talking about where the guy gets shot, Haymitch, in the beginning of the film, he's gone back to drinking. The hope and the newness and all of that has given way to fear of reprisals, and because that was an act of rebellion that her and Peeta did, and you're starting to see this kind of resistance crop up throughout the districts. Whenever that guy gets shot, they go up, they run upstairs to give Katniss a moment, because she just witnessed this guy getting shot, and she's freaking out.
Yeah.
And she reveals then that Snow had blackmailed her into playing the game that he wants her to play, so that the districts can calm down and not have the symbol of hope. The Peeta and Katniss go back and forth, because she's saying she's just trying to protect her family, and Peeta was like, "You should have told me. I have family to protect too." And Haymitch goes, "What about the people? Who's going to protect them?"
Yeah.
And I thought it just struck me as weird that Haymitch is all of a sudden concerned about the people. He's never really cared. He's never really thought about it. Whenever you look at it in retrospect, considering what happens at the very end, it makes sense. He's been revolutionized. And at what point? I got no clue. Yeah. Because he's definitely drunk at the beginning of the movie, unless that's just a ploy for Katniss and Peeta. But it seemed very out of character, because he's like, who's going to protect the people? And he's not even taking a stance on should she go with Snow or should she not. It's just it's showing that she is causing everything to start to shift, and in everybody and people that you wouldn't even expect it.
And for Haymitch, he does seem to be in despair, right? Because he's deeply mourning the fact that they have to perform for their whole lives. He says it never stops. It's not just this year. It's not just the games. It's forever. And he's really distraught when the quarter quell trick is announced, and it's revealed that it's only the survivors that are going to be chosen. He is just broken by that. He goes drinking, and so I think he probably gets revolutionized somewhere in there.
Probably.
Somewhere from that legitimate despair to, maybe somewhere along the process of watching Katniss go on tour.
Well, and he goes to the capital, so that's when he could have met Plutarch, and like,
Right.
that's when he could have let him in on the plan. But
I do think the way that the film it leaves that ambiguity. It's
yeah,
clever.
in the book I can't remember, but
Yeah.
I mean I read it years ago.
Hmm.
But so whenever we get to the capital, there's a small thing. So, which it's a little bit later, so I'll kind of bring us up to that point. They have to go on the tour. They're giving the speeches and everything, and then they get to the capital, and Peeta and Katniss, in order to try to appease Snow, get engaged, and they go to this party, and it's for the victors, and Snow's there, everybody's there, Plutarch's there, and he dances with Katniss.
Yeah.
But there's just, I don't know why I thought this was so funny, but whenever Peeta's eating at the buffet line,
Oh yes.
and they offer him more food, he says he can't eat anymore, so they offer him this drink that's gonna make him throw up so that he can eat more. That is such a cool like social critique of the society that they're living in.
That is good.
Like compared to the districts, and Peeta even says it like it's a little too on the nose. He's like, people are starving in 12, and people can just throw up here so they can eat more. Like it's over the top, but I did think that was really clever.
It is clever. It's a lot, and you feel like the film really looks you in the eyes and just tells you, hey, this is important. Hey, you should dislike him for this. But it works. It works. I think the Hunger Games, part of the appeal is always that it's social critique carried to the extreme. Doesn't it suck that society is so competitive and we're forced into these artificial systems where we have to push down other people just to survive on our own? And it's that taken to 11. It's that, but it's a gladiator match. So it's not just something like a job hunt or competition between nations and different sectors of the economy. It's a life or death battle in the woods between a bunch of kids. So I think the series has always had this social critique dialed up to 11 element to it, and I think that the vomiting drink is, it's a nice little expression of that.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch, and it tells you everything you need to know about the vanity of the capital.
And it adds a lot of, it's a small detail, but it adds a lot of character moments. Because you start to notice things like how Snow is a bit heavier set than his peers. Is there some part of this decadence that Snow rejects? Because he's very stern, he's very shrewd, he's very subtle. And throughout the films, he is trying to keep the ship steady. So maybe there's a part of him that doesn't want to take that kind of drink. Maybe there's a part of him that is just maintaining, that he can't let himself go and buy into this decadence or this, this hedonistic lifestyle.
Well, we were talking
It's
about
intriguing.
We were talking about this before we started recording about a real life situation. But whenever you have an older generation who lived through a traumatic event like a war, like a world war, like something that shook the very that shook the very core of either your nation or your group of people that you align yourself with, those people are going to run a country or even a company differently than the people who come after them.
Yeah.
So Snow lived through the war. He was a kid, but he lived through the war. He lived through poverty. Yeah. He lived through the otherization of the districts and the punishing of the districts and winning that battle and crawling and scraping to get by.
Yeah.
Back to the top. And so he does treat things differently. And everyone else is of a younger generation who didn't live through that.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's part of it either, is that he knows how quickly this whole thing could fall.
That's a good take.
Which is why he whenever the capital is at its pinnacle, which is right before the 74th Hunger Games in the first movie, he is still like something tiny happens with Katniss in the arena. And I can't remember what it was, but that's when he decides to bring Crane to the garden and say, "Be careful." Yeah. Nothing had really happened yet, but he knew, he was like, this can all crumble very quickly. And so, and speaking of Snow, he toasts Katniss and Peeta, and then he takes a drink and he finds blood in his champagne, indicating that he doesn't have a ton of time left, or there's something is seriously wrong.
Right.
And then he, everyone turns around to look at the fireworks, and Katniss looks back to look at him, and he shakes his head no. Like the engagement was not what he wanted her to do. And you haven't seen this movie, but it could have reminded him of his relationship with Lucy Gray, something that he didn't ever get to experience, which was getting engaged with her. That was his romantic interest in the prequel movie. The one, it's the one who got away in his story. And so there could be a little bit of that. There's multiple things like layered on top of each other here. Like them getting engaged is bad because eventually of what it does whenever they're engaged and Peeta hints that they're pregnant. Or doesn't hint, he just says that they're pregnant and makes it up. And so it causes even more uproar in the Capitol. That's later after they decide to make the victors go into the games. But it creates another
how the Capitol doesn't seem to have these puritanical morals. I wonder how the pregnancy announcement plays in different districts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is it more scandalous in some districts than others? I feel like the Capitol wouldn't care.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
Well, I'm talking, they're engaged. They're not married.
Right.
I don't know if that's a big deal in any of the districts.
No.
I feel like it would be in some of the districts. Not in the Capitol.
The districts wouldn't care. I don't think the districts. I don't think... Okay.
I think that'd be an interesting element.
I think that's interesting
I'd like
think about.
to hear more about that.
Because
I think District 12 is the type of district to have a problem with that.
We don't see her family's reaction.
No.
We don't. We see Gale's reaction a little bit. But he's not going to like it either way. But man, I don't know. I feel like any sort of happiness they can get from a bad situation, I feel like... And it kind of like their engagement is kind of a pushback against the Capitol by itself, because they shouldn't be together at all. One of them should be dead. And so it's one little punch back at that. That doesn't address the moral question that you're asking. Like, as far as like socially speaking, is it acceptable?
I think it does, because you're right. them being alive is an act of resistance.
Yeah.
Them getting engaged is another act of resistance.
Well, and you don't know which one.
Right.
I mean, Katniss saved Peeta, but it's like, well, only one of you should be here. We don't know which one, but the fact that both of you are here is a problem in the Capitol's eyes. And so
them having a kid, they're not pregnant. At least not in Catching Fire. For all I have no idea what's in the last ones. I'm not going to stick my foot in my mouth and say anything definitive.
Well, Peeta obviously made that one up.
Well, yes. Yeah. But that lie, it's another act of resistance. And you make a good point. If the districts would interpret it as another act of resistance, most likely.
Yeah. So the morality question almost doesn't even matter as far as socially what is usually acceptable, and they don't comment on. There's a lot they don't comment on.
No, but there's an interesting aspect of it there. It's like the state's so authoritarian; it exerts so much influence, that the people, they might not hold like to some puritanical moral code or something like that. They might view so many of these social relationships, romantic relationships, parent relationships, they might view those through a lens of survival, of resistance, rather than a strictly moral code that some of us might impose on other people, in outside of an authoritarian state. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think within the world of Panem, the Capitol exerts so much influence that I think the districts might come to understand morality and themselves and others through this lens of resistance to authority, first and foremost, and that might trump any secondary considerations that might be available to, bored, relatively well-fed people with nothing better to do in the real world.
Well, that kind of feeds into how do the district and the Capitol view each other?
Yeah.
In the time of the first Hunger Games, no one's wanting to do anything overtly rebellious, because that would just make things even worse. And they'd rather just live their lives, keep their heads down, and just keep chugging along. And what's kind of wild is Snow views the districts as other. Like they're he treats them as like dirt.
Yeah.
From the districts, even though isn't he from the district? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Somebody in the prequel is from the districts, but I don't think
Snow's
it was
a lot
him.
of fun.
Yeah.
Just from my perspective of him, having only seen the first two, I haven't seen the last ones, I haven't seen the prequels, I haven't read any of them. It makes sense that there's a prequel about Snow, because there are all of these little tweaks, all these little character details that I feel like can really be expanded on in a fruitful way.
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked at it. He's not from the districts. I should have known that, but he basically fell down to the district's level.
Okay.
Because his family's wealth disappeared overnight because the war was over, and they were making ammunition.
Ah,
And
that'll do it.
So in District 13, and so the ammunition went. They didn't need anymore, and so they moved to nuclear energy. And so anyway, he got as close to being in the districts as possible, and climbed his way back up. So not only does he have the superiority complex of he's from the capital and these people are from the districts, but he pulled himself up by his bootstraps by playing game maker and then eventually becoming president from nothing, like the people in the districts, nothing. He was in the capital, and then went to the pinnacle of power. And so he has a superiority complex there too, because he was where they were at, and he did the thing. So he's like, these people have no motivation whatsoever. I mean, they don't want to move up. They don't want to, they don't want to do anything like that. One of his friends in the prequel movie is somebody who was from the district, and his dad was an influential person in the economy, and so he got his son a seat in the academy for the 10th games. And so he is not averse to, like, it's not an entirely foreign concept for somebody from the districts to like have ambition and then go into the capital.
Yeah.
And so he probably has a small part in his head where he's like, he thinks he's better than them because he was dirt poor, kind of.
Yeah.
And then he kind of worked his way back up. And so he's such a complex character.
Yeah.
And yeah, he, like you said, he's really, really fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like politics that go into what happens next. So they have the party, and then they go back to the district, and the Capitol security forces come in and impose like curfew and make all these rules and like just tackle whoever the mayor is. It's like a mayor-like figure, and just like take him hostage. And then they're rounding people up, and Gale tackles the commander because he's about to beat a woman, and he gets flogged. Yeah. And so Katniss steps in and stops it from happening further. And then Haymitch steps in, and then Peeta steps in, and then Haymitch has to kind of stand up for her, and then that footage gets sent back to the Capitol, and Snow's like, we can't. This has to stop. we can't this is unacceptable. And so Plutarch then starts to like make suggestions, and there was one of my favorite interactions in the entire franchise, I think, is whenever Plutarch is talking to Snow, and Snow just wants to kill her and just be done with it. And we know Plutarch later on, like as we were watching it, okay, he's trying to lead Snow in a particular direction to save Katniss for this new budding rebellion. And so it was kind of comedic at because of the delivery, but he's like, she's engaged, make everything about that. What dress is she going to wear? Floggings. What's the cake going to look like? Executions. Who's going to be there? Fear. Blanket coverage, shove it in their faces, show them that she's one of us now. They're going to hate her so much they may just kill her for you. And Snow's like brilliant, essentially. Yeah. And it's like Plutarch is so good at because it does if it had worked, if it had gone the way, like if Katniss had killed Finnick in the games, which we'll get to, but if she had actually let go of the arrow, Snow could have been proven right. Yeah. Plutarch isn't wrong.
No, he's threading a needle.
Yeah.
He's getting very close to disaster because he's betting on
it's a huge
Katniss
gamble. It's a huge
through
gamble.
The tour and going through the games and not losing her good image.
And the whole gamble is based on her character. Yeah. It's something he can't control.
And it comes very close to it because if she's immoral, and if she's just going through and backstabbing people left and right during the games, it will take the fire out of the revolution because of what she's come to symbolize. Yeah. She'll be seen as another capital pawn, another person shaped by the system instead of an alternative to the system. It's a gamble. he's gambling so much on her character.
Yeah. Yeah, and
it pays off.
in the arena they don't go into it as much as they do in the book in the movie, but whenever she's attacked by the mockingjays, and I think it's there that she loses hearing. And in the movie it's minimized for cinematic reasons, but she's deaf for a while
Huh.
in the book.
Okay.
And it goes more into like the clock, it goes more into her mental state. She's in her own head a lot. And so whenever you have all of that trauma being in the Hunger Games again, and then you have like she hears the voices of the people that she loves being like in the book it's like they're being tortured essentially, and so like that's what she's hearing, like it, and you see it in the book, or in the movie, but in the book I imagine like just the most heinous sounds you can imagine, and it's for hours.
Okay.
So in the book, in the movie they had to shorten it.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
brief in the film.
It's for hours, and she has to recover, and that's when I think that's when she goes deaf. And so like it would make, I'd say all that because it, in one sense, you could understand if she as a reaction kills Fennec. Because she doesn't know his allegiance truly. She doesn't know, like, if she can trust him, what his end game is. And so if she had just turned around and fired the arrow at the nearest person, like, with the context that you have, they've set that up to where she has to make a split-second decision in that moment. And Plutarch has to bank on the fact that she's been through a gauntlet, something that nobody could be, reasonably expected to get out of unscathed. And she still chooses not to let the arrow fly.
Yeah.
Even though she doesn't know where Peeta is, she doesn't know where Fennec, she doesn't know where Fennec stands near the end of the games. And so, yeah, it is a huge gamble that Plutarch is taking.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was one of my favorite interactions. Like him, it's Plutarch and Snow. It's maybe my favorite part of the movie, to be honest with you.
Plutarch, he's interesting too. I was thinking about it after mentioning the thing about Snow, but he's also a bit heavier set.
Yeah.
And just this nice bit of world building where in the capital people often take this vomit-inducing drink so that they can eat more. It's another subtle suggestion about what type of guy Plutarch is, that there might be parts of the system that are distasteful to him. But he's not a terribly thin man either.
Yeah.
So it's
the perfect, it's
Right.
Plutarch and Snow are the same, but vastly different.
Yeah, they both participate in the system while maybe condemning certain parts of it.
Yeah.
And so at least at the end of the story, it's revealed that Plutarch is with the revolutionaries. He's been nudging the situation towards his desired end game, a free Katniss, games that were averted at the last minute with multiple contestants escaping alive. It's a subtle suggestion that he's also like Snow and that he's different from the rest of the capital.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a clever bit of world building and characterization.
It's very subtle, but I think it's really effective now that I think about it. Because they're sitting next to each other, and you think that they're just two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Like part of the same, they think very much alike, and so in the movie, they make sure that they really get along.
And
they really get,
They're similar guys.
Plutarch knows how to talk to Snow. He knows what's going to get through to him. He's like, you want Katniss dead. I know you do. But just killing her, that's not what you want. Not truly what you want. And so he reads him so well. And it's really effective. I can't remember in the first Hunger Games episode, if I said that Plutarch burns the envelope for the third quarter quell. I can't remember. There's a deleted scene where, because they have all the boxes, like I said, there's like 80 of them. So it's like 2,000 years worth of Hunger Games.
Wow. Yes.
In the deleted scene, Plutarch finds the third one for the third quarter quell and burns the envelope for the actual idea and then replaces it with the victor's idea.
Okay.
But I believe, I couldn't tell, I can't remember what the book says about it, and I tried to find it, but I couldn't. I think it's implied that Snow did it. So, like, he replaced the idea.
Sense.
Because otherwise it's just chance.
See, my interpretation just watching the film blind was that it was a move by Snow to destroy Katniss's credibility.
Yes.
To either kill her or create circumstances in which she delegitimizes herself in the public's eye, in the public imagination, by doing actions that are reprehensible, betraying, putting herself first for survival, that reduce her from an image to an ordinary human being. My interpretation was it was something Snow did, but there's some wiggle room in there, at least in the film. as it stands.
Yeah, and I read that they removed it because of continuity concerns.
Mm.
So I believe it is like pretty much set in stone that
Okay.
Snow replaced it. There's no way that it was there by chance at the
Yeah.
right moment for Snow. But then that means that Plutarch knew about it. Because
Yeah.
Plutarch was able to plan the whole thing and make sure she was in the games. So I don't know. It's kind of left up in the air. Plutarch has more agency in the film than I think he would in the book.
Okay.
I don't know. I wish I could have read it before. Again, but they do the thing again where they make sure to remind the population that this is a punishment.
Yeah.
Because Snow says, as a reminder that even the strongest cannot overcome the power of the capital. On this, the third quarter Quell games, the male and female tributes are to be reaped from the existing pool of victors. So they did it for the 25th, the 50th, and the 75th. It's like this is another reminder. This is another way we can show you that you're weak, that you deserve this, that more of you died than us during the war in the case of the 50th, or we're all in this together, so you all have to vote on who you're going to send in the case of the 25th games. So anyway, it's another authoritarian trope almost to remind the population of their state and their place in society, either subtly or in this case overtly.
One of the things that I really liked watching the film was it was the Hunger Games themselves. So they take place in an arena.
Yeah.
Specially prepared arena. And one of the things that I kept coming back to as I was watching this film especially was how much control the game maker has over the arena. They control the weather. They control when it rains. They control the water. They control the wind.
The animals.
They control, the animals, the plant life. They control, they set up invisible walls. They prevent you from going certain places. They create poison mist. They create, lightning storms. They exert so much control within the arena. They're televising every moment. They have cameras everywhere. Nothing's private. And I kept thinking throughout the film, like, why don't they use this outside of the games?
Oh.
And I kept circling back to, we see this high-tech futuristic world inside the Hunger Games. And then in the districts, it's guys with clubs.
Yeah.
It's guys and they're flogging or they're punching or they are, they're pulling out handguns and shooting someone. It's like, well, why is that necessary if the government has, mobile poison gas control units that it can use to wipe out bits of the population with ease? And one of the things that really solidified my answer to that is the ending, where they're able to turn the situation on its head. They shoot the arrow into the roof. They electrocute it with the wire. So it's this collaborative group effort that Katniss chooses in that moment not to kill. Fennec is his name, right? Fennec?
Mm-hmm.
Chooses not to kill Fennec, shoots the arrow into the sky, into the roof of the arena, and then the lightning strikes and it blows up the arena. And the whole thing crumbles very, very quickly. But that, for me, was enough of an answer, because the Capitol exerts this incredible control in the arena, in this artificial environment. You get the sense that it's expensive. You get the sense that it's hard, that it takes a lot of effort, a lot of manpowers. And so I think that the Hunger Game arena serves as a microcosm for just an authoritarian society. Mm-hmm. Their control of the state seems all pervasive. They control what you see. They control where you go. They control who you talk to. They control, maybe not the weather, but they control the resources. Your access to water, your access to electricity, your access to clean air.
So the Hunger Games is quite literally a reminder of not just what they did to deserve this, but their current state of being.
Exactly.
Because they control literally everything. So it's a past reminder of the past, but also of the present.
And it's artificial.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever see the Capitol using these methods. They're not materializing dogs out of the ground like they did in the first film.
Yeah.
We don't see that outside in the districts. And I think that that's because, the states it's repressive, it's controlling, it appears all pervasive, it appears all powerful, it appears to be infinitely wealthy and wise and unchallengeable. But when you push back on that system, when there's a collaborative effort, when you build connections and you apply your knowledge and your experience to destroying the system that was set up, the environment that the state has created, then it crumbles, and it crumbles fast,
Like the dome.
like the dome.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a suggestion of the Hunger Games are a performance for the districts as well. You're sitting at home when you're watching it, you're like, oh my goodness, the state has gigantic mutant monkeys and blood rain. Like, oh,
Well-
they can do whatever to me if I disobey.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they can if you're in the arena,
Well, and
but
that,
not if
and
you're outside of
I
it.
think this fits solidly in the hope and fear dichotomy,
Mm.
because you have the mutts which is what they call them, the mutations.
Yeah.
And they don't have to use them against the districts. Their very existence means that they don't have to. They haven't had an
Yeah.
actual rebellion necessarily in the past 75 years.
Hmm.
And so the fact that they're seeing them on TV is like, oh dang, I better not rise up. But you also have hope.
Yeah.
Artificial hope, the small amount of hope that Snow's talking about, where it seems like the tributes have some sort of agency. They get to choose if they win or not.
Hmm.
They made the best person win, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Right.
But whenever they're going up against nature and animals and all the other things that the Capitol's put in place, even other tributes, they're being forced into these confrontations. There is no choice in the arena.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I mean, the idea is you just choose to survive. That's the only choice you have, and then whoever is the best survives. And so it's this little glimmer of hope whenever whenever they lock in on a tribute and they're making these decisions. You have people back home who it sucks that they're there, and it's children, and it's horrific. But the very base of it, somewhere at the foundation, is they have a choice
Yeah.
to make, but it's controlled. The state is the one. If things get a little out of hand, okay, we're just cutting them off.
Yeah.
So you have the hope and you have the fear, which is why it is probably very expensive to do that, and completely unreasonable, because they can't make blood rain from the sky without putting a dome on the whole country.
Right.
So
And they don't have a dome over the whole country. We never see them create these invisible force fields in the districts. We never see them unleash these mutant animals onto the districts. We see it in the arena, in this artificial environment, in this performative, televised spectacle. It's weaker than it seems.
it was all man-made, which means that man can destroy it.
Exactly.
It is. I like when you said it's all artificial.
Yeah.
Because it gives people the idea that, well, this got here somehow,
Right.
and it can be taken down because Katniss does that.
Now that's my
From the
perspective.
arena.
As my perspective as a guy who I haven't read the others, I haven't watched the other films. So
there's-
if I get into the next one and it opens with just this horde of mutant monkeys unleashed on districts, and they're just doing all sorts of insane
So-
stuff, I will eat my words and apologize and say, you know what, the state was I underestimated the state. That's on me. All power and glory to the state. Panem. That's fine. If they're making blood rain, if they're doing mosaic plagues on the districts,
Which the
in
blood
next
rain, by the
one-
way, in the book is way worse.
Oh, I'm sure. Well,
Like
you
it's
hardly
like
see it in the
described.
film.
It's like yeah. And they didn't want to actually portray it because I think it was going to get an R rating if they did that.
Okay.
I think that was the official story.
Man, what a
But-
cheap, cowardly thing to do. Yeah, we didn't
So,
do that. We didn't want to get censored from the
think-
powers that be in our movie about anti-authoritarianism.
Yeah, right.
We couldn't do that. We had to make money.
I think
That's a commentary in
I
and of
think no
itself.
yeah. That's another subplot. I think that your
Meta-narrative.
point, no matter what happens in the next movies, your point still stands.
Hmm.
The Capitol does not need to unleash any of these. It's all theatrical.
Yeah.
It's meant to serve one purpose. Like everything in movies and books is meant to evoke certain emotions: hope, fear, happiness, joy, sadness, all that.
Yeah.
The mutts are meant to instill fear into the districts, and it does so effectively.
Hmm.
And so this is a society that is trying to maintain power. From this point forward, it is now trying to wrestle that power back
Yeah.
because of what has just transpired at the end of the movie. That's all I'll say. I would just say that your point still stands, that as an authoritarian regime trying to hold on to power or maintain it, and it's just trying to keep the districts in line, this makes complete sense to use these mutts and this technology in this way, because it would not be economically viable to do otherwise.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. Maybe they'll be, filling Pan Am with frogs and flies and covering districts in darkness in the next one, for all I know. But at least in this one, my perspective, maybe this is a long forgotten perspective if the next two movies are crazy, but you get the sense
you're gonna love the next two movies.
The state couldn't do this forever. It would cost too much money. So they're doing it in a theater to convince you that they can do it to you all the time effortlessly.
Yeah, and it works.
I don't think they
doesn't.
can. I don't think they could. I think the state, like the arena, would crumble under an organized effort of people setting aside their personal differences, setting aside the incentive structure that they're stuck in, working collaboratively despite all odds, despite the fact that they're different, that they, are diverse, that they are set against each other by circumstance and by societal structures, choosing to collaborate and fight not each other, but the state. I think it crumbles. I think it crumbles fast. I think that's the trajectory of the story, and the takeaway. That you're not as trapped in these structures. You are, but you're not unchangeably, unavoidably trapped, and that the path out involves this collaborative, network forming and resistance to these seemingly impossible structures. I mean, she shoots an arrow at the sky.
Yeah.
What a thing to challenge. But it works. It seems impossible. It seems unfathomable. Like, what a powerful act of resistance. The whole thing, just symbolism from beginning to end.
Well, she found the weakness. She found the weakness.
Yeah.
To take down the whole thing. And again, Plutarch is banking. Like, that had to be why he put the tree there. That had, like, why else would you have
that is a hard sell. Yeah, we're gonna put a tree there, and it just shoots lightning like every hour at this consistent, predictable interval.
Like that had to be the reason why.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be interested to see if they talk about that in the next ones. If he, arranged certain people's survival or certain people's deaths.
Well, he said that half the tributes were in on it.
Okay. Well, and you get that sense for sure, because there's a tribute that cuts out the tracker in her arm. You get the sense that
the one that sacrifices herself for PETA,
absolutely,
jumps out of the tree.
Yeah, there's so many people that work towards this, and even just the the guy who invented the force fields and the wires. You get the sense that he's not there for no reason.
Yeah, right.
Some strings were probably pulled to get him in and get him surviving. So maybe not. Maybe not this elaborative lightning tree dome destroying plot. Maybe not that specific, but a plan of survival, a plan of escape. Maybe the specifics weren't hammered out, but everyone seemed to have pretty specific roles.
They did, and they were there to guide her in the right direction, but she ultimately had to be the one.
Yeah.
If Finnick does it at the end of the movie, or if Finnick does it at the end of the game, so to do the district rise up in the same way. They might. But it's not nearly as effective for certain.
Yeah.
And because that was the whole gamble, is keep her alive no matter what happens. You guys are all in here. You guys may all die, but she needs to get out of here alive.
It's a tough sell.
It is a tough sell.
It requires so much selflessness on the part of the tributes.
Yeah.
They're just sacrificing yourself for a better future, a better tomorrow, even if it results in your death.
Well, then I feel like you see that in different ways throughout the games whenever Finnick with his mentor who ends up like sacrificing herself, and the way that he takes that, and then even Johanna who saves Katniss's life multiple times, take the tracker out of her arm, and then Beatty and I think Wirus is her name.
Yeah,
they do things kind of the same way. You can kind of tell Beatty's moving them towards a certain direction, and so they set the breadcrumbs all the way through. Which is you watch it back, oh well, okay, yeah, that's kind of obvious.
I really liked. I liked the bit. Wyrus is her name, right?
I think.
I'm bad with some of the tributes names. It's tough to tell up
There's
front.
there's a lot.
There's like 24, 26 of them.
Not all of them matter, but
yeah, it's tough to tell which ones are important going in, and so I find myself mixing them up until the end when it's like really the important ones. And by then, the film is over, and I'd need to watch it again to really
internalize
to pay attention to
Yeah.
the ones who are important. And maybe that's a commentary as well, the way that we prioritize people or value human life in these circumstances. But she keeps saying, like, TikTok, she seems to have had a mental break, but she's obsessing over the clock, and she's the one who communicates to everyone, hey, the arena's structured like a clock. There are predictable attempts at predictable events at hourly intervals. And Katniss is the one who understands this communication from her. And it's just this really powerful bit of the story, in my opinion, because the thing that enables this breakthrough is Katniss's empathy. She doesn't view the person with the mental health episode as a broken person or a worthless person. She approaches her with empathy. She listens to what she's saying. She attempts to communicate. And so one of the things that enables Katniss's success is her empathy. Her willingness to listen to the people others would ignore. That is one of the central things that enables their success in this resistance movement.
Yeah.
You couldn't imagine any of the other characters doing it. I think that that's one of the things that makes Katniss special.
No, but I mean, the first thing you see when it like that kind of like piqued my interest the first time I read through it was like Finnick saves Peeta's life, and so you see somebody's like showing empathy.
Yeah.
But then you do have in the back of your mind, is he trying to just keep the group whole so that they can go fight the other tributes? And so they show little signs of empathy throughout, but it's muddied by their objective, their goal. Katniss's empathy is that's just who she is.
Yeah.
So her and Peeta, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting to see because the circumstances are set up for them to hate each other, for them to kill each other, to be divided. Their enemy's the capital, but these artificial differences are sown between them. You shouldn't be with them because they're from a different district. It's like, well, that district's also enslaved to the capital. You can claim that these supposed differences are what matters and that we should all kill each other in this arena, but really the problem is who put us here.
Right.
And that's something you see them be very bold about in their interviews and in the declarations.
And that's what Haymitch tells Katniss.
Yeah.
Remember who the real enemy is. And that's what gets her to stop trying to kill Finnick. It's like, remember who the real enemy is.
Yeah.
And it's like capped on both ends before she goes in as it's about to end. And then you have to ask the question, is that the moment she decided to fire the arrow? Is that when I'm sure in the book they have it laid out that way, but it's like in that moment, that's whenever she decided that she was going to make her move and there's no turning back.
Yeah.
And actually attack the people who put them there. I have a more practical question. So Plutarch is the guy who makes all the games, and he's also the one who knows which tributes are going to go in and what they're going to face. Does he tell them? Like Beatty has a plan about the tree. Right? He comes up with this plan. Looks like he comes up with it in the moment. Could he have thought about it beforehand and had been told by Plutarch? If not, why not?
I mean, you don't really get the sense that any of them are aware.
No,
they seem pretty surprised and pretty pissed.
Because Finnick loses Mags.
Yeah.
And then Beatty loses Wyrus. So which that one was due to another tribute, which couldn't have been controlled.
Right.
But what I also don't understand, okay, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but Katniss and Finnick and Peeta go around the outside perimeter of the arena.
Yeah.
The last time she did that, everything caught on fire and pushed her back into the middle.
There's the poison smog. Well, and I'm dying to know what.
But what I'm saying, why did they go to the outside?
Okay, so they shouldn't have been.
There was a force field. I understand it's hard to tell, but
do it twice. Lightning doesn't.
What?
Lightning doesn't strike the same place twice.
It wouldn't strike a tree multiple times.
No. That has to be their logic. Well, they're looking right at the tree. They're like, guys,
It won't strike twice.
it won't do it.
It won't. It
It's
just
not
won't.
going to happen. I'm going to the outside of the arena. What's the worst that could happen?
I guess they couldn't have known that it was
Some
the outside of the
horrible
arena.
smog filling my lungs, killing me slowly,
The boils all over your. Yeah.
so that I have to jump in the water to save myself. That would never happen twice.
But what
You're
I don't-
right. It was a dumb move.
What I don't understand
Shouldn't
is
have happened.
she's going into the arena knowing Snow wants her dead.
Right.
He wants her dead.
Yeah.
So she just.
I'm
I don't
gonna
know. I don't
go
know.
to the kill zone.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to the fire zone. I know what to expect. I'll jump in the
Yeah.
water. It'll
This
be
worked
fine.
for me last time.
Right. Yeah, it worked for her this time too.
It did. But PETA literally died. The amount of times PETA has died or almost died is crazy. He legitimately died in this movie.
He did die in this movie. Yeah, they brought him back.
He's just such a beta. Like last time he was Gale, and now PETA is not
Beta.
making a strong case.
How could you say that about the guy from the FNAF movie? He
Dude.
survived 5 nights.
You mean
at
the guy from
Freddy's.
RV and Polar Express? That's what you mean. That guy is a Chad.
You don't survive 5 nights at Freddy's as a beta male. That's pretty clear.
I feel like
They die at like
I feel
night
like there's
3, man.
8-year-olds everywhere who've
Nope.
gotten through Five Nights at Freddy's.
Are they? I'm trying so hard to keep a straight face. I can't do it. Are those beta 8-year-olds or are they alpha 8-year-olds?
Alphas? Oh,
That's
for
a sorting
sure, for sure.
process.
But Josh Hutcherson,
That's what I'm
Hutcherson?
doing. Nobody knows how to say it. Nobody. I'm convinced he
Hutcherson.
doesn't.
Hutcherson.
Well, it's Josh Hutcherson from the hit film
I'm not.
Five Nights at
Look,
Freddy's.
I'm not trying. You made it about him. I'm not saying
I did.
Josh. I'm not saying.
I'm saying Josh specifically.
I'm not saying that. I'm
not-
saying.
You know what? I'm not even saying Josh. I'm
PETA
saying the character from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm saying he's the Hunger Games. Yeah, is he a wimp in the Hunger Games? Yes. Does he die repeatedly in the Hunger Games? Yes. However, I feel like the FNAF survival is almost more impressive because he's the only one there, and it's 5 nights instead of
I think he had to redeem himself from this horrible span of 4 movies that he has on his record, where he's just.
If he's lucky, they'll do 4 FNAF movies. He can
true.
redeem himself.
That's true.
He can redeem himself.
It.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
It's like, what does PETA do in this movie? What does he
He's a
do?
man.
Can you tell me what he does?
He-
The only thing that he does that really helps Katniss is he does a speech for in District 11, which
he reads his line.
which she ends up. Well, he goes off script and says he's going to give them a
Oh.
month of their earnings or their winnings for eternity. But anyway,
eternity.
yeah, but eternity in perpetuity. I don't know. Like I don't know if it is at like 2,000 years they get this thing. I don't know. They don't get any of it. If
That's true.
if they leave and the Capitol revokes it. but anyway,
Yeah, empty
he
promises.
reads the speech. She gives a speech anyway, which gets a guy killed.
He chose to.
And then I know I'm not trying.
Don't devalue his sacrifice.
I'm saying
personal agency.
that whenever the Katniss's personal agency made PETA's effort to like save her from pain irrelevant. Because he was trying to take the bullet, and she was like, "You know what? I'm more of a man than you. I'll take over from here, PETA. You have screwed this up. You have screwed this up."
I think. Okay. You know what? I think PETA. He's good for the cameras. He is.
Oh, objectively speaking, yeah.
He goes in and he's like, "I'm gonna toe the line, and I'll offer you guys some money. It is not an unreasonable thing to do. It's just enough of a defiance that it'll be allowed."
Yeah.
And so he's doing the most that he can to support this family.
Yeah, but
To support them. Katniss, she starts a riot with her off script remarks.
that's what she's supposed to do, though. What's PETA supposed?
Yes.
PETA.
Well, PETA, I'm just
PETA's
saying.
so
I'm
much
just
of a
saying,
beta
I'm just
that
saying.
he tried to start
No,
some sort of revolution
no.
and nothing happened. Katniss says
PETA-
one line.
PETA.
She says one line, and everyone starts going up in an uproar. PETA, no one cared what PETA had to say.
PETA
No one cared.
Was supporting a family. He was.
It was a good thing. It was objectively a good thing.
Let's not dunk on him for.
I'm saying it was ineffective. It didn't do anything.
It would have supported the family. It would have done that.
They got supported for
something.
like 4 weeks.
That's something.
for like 4
Hey,
weeks, and then Snow was like,
more food
revoke
than-
that. Revoke,
Okay.
write that. We're done.
Look, if we're gonna dunk on PETA, which we should do,
Absolutely.
Let's not do
I'm
it
not.
for that.
I will. What? Okay.
Reasons to dunk on PETA. A systematic analysis of the film. PETA is way into the kiss in the propaganda footage filmed at the beginning. He makes it weird. It's over the line. He's really
he makes it weird?
He's really into it, and then afterwards he's like, how much of the kiss was real? He gives her a look, and I'm
I
like,
thought they were both
I'm
into it. I thought they were both for different
I don't
reasons.
think so.
Because Katniss's family was threatened,
and
so she was trying to sell it.
That's a bad definition of into it.
But PETA wasn't. PETA was into it for the cameras. It wasn't.
Nope.
It wasn't. Oh, so you're saying
he's into it personally.
I'm sorry.
He's into
I'm
it personally.
misunderstanding. I thought they were both
no.
into it for the propaganda.
No.
You're saying he was into it.
He was into it.
Okay.
She was putting on an
Yes,
act.
I agree.
He's into it for himself. It's weird. Shame on PETA. Bad for him.
Okay. Okay.
Other things he does. He's late to saving Gale. What is he doing? Where is he?
Well, then
what is he doing?
Even whenever he goes to save Gale, Hamish just pushes him out of the way.
Yeah, he doesn't do a good job. He doesn't do a good job at all.
He's
Hamish
useless.
throws him out.
He's useless.
Well, and then their whole thing, she meets up with Hamish and she's like, hey, he's going to volunteer. You have to stop him. And he's like, he's stupid. He's stupid and reckless, Katniss.
But he does say,
I can't save him.
He does say in 100 lifetimes she could never deserve him.
Which is sweet.
But
also
in kind of like a
feels-
bless your heart kind of way.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
I mean,
in 1,000
PETA,
years, you could never. It's like, I think
is
you
he
probably
so
could.
wholesome? Like,
I think you could deserve him in like one or like a couple weeks, maybe. Maybe I'm critical. I'm overcritical. He volunteers himself, and then what does he do in the games?
that is objectively selfless. He does selfless
what does he do
things.
in the games?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm drowning.
Hamish would have been more valuable.
He would have been.
That
more
is my
valuable.
argument. Hamish would have been way more valuable than
Dear
PETA.
gosh. Give me the
Way more.
50-year-old drunkard. I want him on my team.
He's the guy. He has been in. He's been in the same amount of Hunger Games as PETA, and
Really?
Well,
up to that point.
Yeah, up to that point. Up to that point, he had been in the same amount
I
as
was
PETA.
gonna say that's a bum deal if he's getting drafted into his third Hunger Games.
He unequivocally won. There was like a final duel in that Hunger Games, and he beat the other tribute, and he won on the merits.
Okay.
PETA had to be carried, literally nursed
He
back
was.
to health,
Multiple times.
dragged, joined the other tributes, and then
He was
almost
carried in the
died.
first one. He almost dies. He does this ridiculous makeup.
Yeah, ridiculous.
What is it? Oh, well, I make cakes or whatever. It's like, that's not an explanation. What are you talking about?
He has no mirror.
Right.
How in the world is he gonna? You know what? That's the part that doesn't.
And in the
Makes sense
second
to me, but-
second one, I'm drowning in the water. Oh, I'm running into the force field and my heart stopped.
Dude.
Oh, I'm being mauled by this
Dude.
monkey and some woman's jumping out and
Dude.
getting stabbed to death because I was not paying attention.
And then he's just kind of like, what does he say?
He's like, oh, she's died to save me. I didn't know her name.
Man, I can't even remember what he says.
Man.
But he's just kind of like,
He's going through the film, he's collecting the dead children's souls. He's on overtime. He's on night 7. He's stocking up. He's putting those into the robots himself. He's on it.
yeah. I wrote down in the
say.
movie. I wrote down, or while I was watching the movie, I was like, PETA just casually mentions that the Morphling sacrificed herself for him, and he didn't even know her name. And I put PETA is dumb as rocks.
I hope he comes back and he does something really incredible.
Well, okay. So in the books, it is. So you look at
That's
Gale
something.
and you look at PETA, right?
Gale,
And so you'll understand. Whenever you
Poor
watch,
Liam
we'll talk
Hemsworth.
about this whenever you watch Mockingjay Part 2, and we're done. We can do a whole looking back on the characters.
Yeah.
But they are two different people, and they harp on this a little bit more in the book, I feel like. But Gale is like, a manly man. He's he's like, the classic celebrity guy actor, and PETA's also
All right,
that.
Let's not get out of ourselves. This is Liam Hemsworth we're talking about.
Okay, well, he's a B-list actor,
Right.
only because his brother's the A-list actor. But you have Liam Hemsworth, who's supposed to be like this hot guy, that Katniss is always
Right.
known or whatever and falling in love with. And then you have Peeta, who's like also that because they have to cast these beautiful people for every Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
But in the books, he's supposed to be like shy and he's gentle, he's selfless, and Gale's more abrasive and rough around the edges. And so as you go further, they do separate, like the paths do like clearly. Okay, this is option 1 and this is option 2. But up until right now, it's not clear. Like, I know it looking back, and Peeta is just so insufferable in this movie. Like,
Gale,
my gosh,
Gale isn't much better. He gets so little screen time,
but he doesn't get the opportunity. Peeta gets opportunities and squanders them.
So Peeta's worse for me than Gale. I'm Team Gale, tentatively. If he kills a puppy in the next movie, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But so far, he's been, I have to collect my thoughts. I'm so disappointed in Peeta.
In Peeta. Josh, you've really screwed up, man. Devin is so disappointed.
This is a Josh problem.
This is a Josh problem. This is not a Peeta problem. This is a Josh problem.
No, Josh.
Josh is great. I like Josh. Josh is awesome.
Let me make this clear. No,
but we'll find out.
Josh is killing it in this role. He performs the heck out of it. He does everything he needs to do.
This is what happens in the book.
Props to him.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with Josh. Great actor. Totally he was great in the Polar Express. He was great in the FNAF movie. He was great in the Hunger Games. No complaints about Josh. That being said,
okay.
He almost dies repeatedly in the first Hunger Games. He almost dies repeatedly in the second Hunger Games.
He dies.
He does
and they bring him back.
They bring him back. And then he almost dies again repeatedly.
And then guess what? At the end, they got him.
That's
the Capitol got him.
Yeah, he didn't even get
they
out.
They got him.
Free. What was the deal with that?
Dude, you're not gonna believe what happens in this next one. I'm just gonna let you know.
With my luck, the third movie is going to open with this like great mission to rescue Peeta. And what's gonna happen? With my luck, it's going to be Katniss and
Fennec.
No, not Fennec. Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, Gale.
Gale. It's going to be Katniss and Gale breaking in to save him, and they're just going to fight like 300 of those mutts, just the dogs, and he's just going to like.
It's the worst of both worlds for you.
It's the worst of both worlds for me
because they never use the mutts.
Right. So it's going to be all mutts. It's going to be all Gale, and Gale is just going to machine gun all of these mutts. And so I'm just going to look stupid. It's going to be...
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually just have a bunch of these, and Gale does kill puppies repeatedly in the film.
Mutts.
And then Peeta,
mutations. I shouldn't call them mutts.
Super great.
People are going to be very confused if I just say
Gale,
it kills 300
he's
mutts.
He's going to show up.
Mutations.
He's just going to say the most misogynistic stuff immediately.
Or it's going to be the opposite, and like Peeta is the one who mows down like the mutations, and he looks kind of like a boss, and he actually does something.
Either way,
you're done.
I've staked a claim, and it's almost guaranteed now that I'm going to look like a complete idiot with whatever happens in this next film.
I think
I think I can escape that. I can get around it by criticizing it as a storytelling decision.
Movie 2,
Very
Peeta
happy.
is
very happy
possibly the worst character
I would agree.
in this movie. Because
Gale,
he is so
too,
useless.
the whole time.
Gale is useless mainly because he doesn't get any opportunity to do anything.
He does tackle the commander. And
that is useful.
Well, okay, but he just tackles him. It's like, you should have had a knife. You should have punched him in the throat.
Oh, you mean like
he should have done something useful, tackling him.
Tackling
him,
okay,
getting
no,
flogged.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Let me measure that in terms of revolutionary contribution.
The revolution has not started yet.
Clearly.
At the point of the beginning of the movie,
tackling the commander, not useful.
He's saving the woman from being beaten.
Yes.
And
how much can you do? How much can you do? As an individual actor, they're going to find that woman later, and they're going to burn her house down.
Maybe.
But
probably
maybe not. Probably.
That commander, he did not care anymore.
I think, that's fair. I think it's an ethical action. My point is that individual action is not going to blow up the state.
No,
that's my point.
But if you're talking about contributions to the revolution, I agree with you.
Gale, not helpful.
However,
a moral action, a brave action, an admirable action, not a revolutionary action, because individual action is not revolutionary.
It's the first time he actively impacts the plot.
Yes. That's
the
a good way
first
to phrase
time.
it.
It's the first time he reveals his character and an action that he takes that has consequences.
He is a good, competent, and brave character stuck in a situation in which he has limited ability to affect change.
In this movie, yes.
Yes. When he mows down,
I'm just saying,
20,000 dogs in the next film.
Yeah, before he gets there,
Before he goes
to the pen and pound, it's just
Please, how?
Panem has a new dog catcher and he doesn't take prisoners.
Yeah, I really liked the third Hunger Games movie, but I thought the hour-long subplot of Gale killing dogs was a bit. This could have been one movie, I think. Seems a bit much.
Why they had to split the last one in two because the first one's just about Liam Hemsworth, not Gale, for the record, going through and just hunting down all 300, and he has a manifest and he's getting all of them.
I just think, look, if you're Katniss, you're moral, you're competent, you're ethical, you're brave, you're forward-thinking, you're creative. These two dudes are duds. These are duds.
Yeah, for different reasons.
Gale has done nothing. He's been here twice now. He tackled one guy and got flogged. Ethically, good action.
Not much else.
But
she has had a whole childhood with him, so
off screen, implied.
And he cares for her whenever she
not
has the
doing
PTSD
it for
episode.
He does.
He tries to help her.
Okay, he's an emotionally available guy.
Well,
he's present.
Sure.
In this film,
he's present. He is present. Yes, yes.
Film,
emotionally available is a step, but
and then you have Peeta, who he plays the cameras great, and
he's witty. He does think of things off the top of his head, like the pregnancy.
He
thing
is, but I like that Josh does this. He gets the same look on his face right before he says the pregnancy thing as he did in the first one, where he's like, "Yeah, I have a crush on." Mm-hmm. He gets the same look on his face.
Yeah,
and you can just tell he's thinking about something. Not again, stupid idiot. This guy.
Oh, he's thinking about how bad dude. I wonder what kind of self-hate he went through while making this movie. Like he had to go to his therapist and like, look, I'm not Peeta. I am not Peeta. I am not Peeta. This guy sucks. Get him out of my head. This guy has he comes in so clutch with like in front of the audience with Caesar.
That's the only time that he's
But Haymitch could have told him that.
Haymitch
could have told him that. I like Haymitch a lot.
Haymitch should have been on the team. He would have been more interesting. I'm not Team Peeta. I'm not personally. I'm Team Gale because Peeta is there more and he's bad and lame. And
I will just say, all I'm going to say,
Gale, he's better in this one.
Yeah,
he's better. If
there is
I bear no responsibility for what's in the third one.
There is, no, I agree. You haven't seen it. You don't know. You don't know. I will say there is still to this day like on one of our YouTube shorts from the last one, there was somebody who said #Team Gale. There was a raging, heated debate about if you were Team Gale or Team Peeta.
Is this
and that was after, and you could have this conversation after watching, or after reading all the books.
Is this a debate? Not to get into the thick of it.
You're gonna jump right into the middle. I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling you're gonna.
Is this a debate like Edward and Jacob is a debate where there's a right answer but people keep debating it? I know that I'm hitting the hornet's nest with that
you're
one.
hitting two. You've hit
simultaneously.
You swung and then on the back you hit another one. On your backswing.
There's a right answer for the Twilight one. There's clearly a right answer in the text. There is. It resolves a specific way with specific implications.
I would say yes.
Okay.
I think that if you're looking at it from if you're taking romance and feelings out of it and it's like, oh well, Gale's way hotter, or Peeta's more emotionally available. And then Gale was there for her in this
He's
specific time. Like there was a really integral time where she needed him, and he was there, and he pulled through. Well, Peeta, he was there whenever she needed to be comforted when she had nightmares, and so he helped her with that. If you take all of that out of it, there is one character who is morally speaking better than the other.
Okay.
But
That's good to know.
I don't. If you say there's a right answer, as
We'll
you probably
see.
know
We'll see.
with the Twilight comparison, you're gonna get flamed. You're just gonna get flamed.
Has a right answer. You don't have to like it,
But there isn't a right
but there
answer.
is a right answer. You can say it
I've
shouldn't
never
be
seen
the right
Twilight.
answer.
The only thing I know about Twilight is all the disturbing things. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I only have the bad. I don't have
Right.
of the movies. The books, whatever. But the movies, I've only heard the bad stuff about those. So there is a right answer to that one too. That one. I don't care about that one. If I watch it, I may change my mind. But
We'll see. We'll see with the Hunger Games. I'll be interested to see the next two films. Looking forward to watching them. Is there anything else major that we want to discuss about this one?
the games.
The game. We discussed the games. What are your thoughts on the games? I've gotten most of mine out.
No. I don't
Most
have,
of my thoughts I've shared.
I'm just something I like is that in this one, Snow takes a more active role during the games.
Yeah.
You have whenever Phoenix saves Peeta by doing CPR, we see Snow's granddaughter, and so he's talking with her at one point, and then
Yes.
whenever Phoenix saves Peeta, she says, "Grandpa, I hope to someday have someone I love as much as Katniss loves Peeta," and he says, "You will," and you know that's gotta hurt him. But it's just a nice little, and it's also it's layered again because he didn't get that. He had that kind of love and he couldn't have it because of his actions and because he drove her away, and so he has that romance and he's thinking about his granddaughter's like future, her life ahead of her. And he's just having to mourn that all over again. That like the Katniss, this person that he despises, gets to have what he couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing that they had layered on top of it. And then later on, he's like urging her, egging her on to kill Finnick because like you can kind of tell this is the moment of like this is the turning point of not just this movie but of the rebellion as a whole. She either lives or dies here. The Mockingjay lives or dies here. So he just encourages her to let it fly.
Yeah.
And he's just hoping she's going to let it go. And then Haymitch's line that Finnick says of remember who the real enemy is snaps her out of it. And it's at that moment that everything changes from here. Because then she turns around and shoots the dome. So it's all just done so well and that at the end of at the climax of the film.
I do like how Snow he's so attached to his granddaughter. It's his granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
He's so attached to her and he uses her as kind of a as a person from the outside world. He uses her to get a good sense for what the public thinks about the games, what the public thinks about Katniss. So even these familial relationships are transactional. He might care about her, but he is going to use her for her perspective and her insight into things. He's disturbed when she starts wearing her hair like Katniss, when she starts viewing her as an admirable person over the course of the games. Because if it's even the people in the capital that are admiring Katniss's qualities, what are the people in the districts thinking?
Yeah. The people that she actually came from.
Yeah.
The people who can relate with her.
She's inspiring. I mean, she volunteered. She goes in. She is kind repeatedly in a system that incentivizes cruelty. This social Darwinism, putting yourself first. It's admirable, and it even gets the people in the Capitol. The scene is very interesting when Peeta goes in front of Caesar and announces the pregnancy, the fake pregnancy. The people in the audience stand up and they're like, "Oh, stop the games!"
Yeah,
they shout, "Stop the games!" She's able to inspire empathy even in the most shallow and vapid of people. She's a humanizer. She makes the districts seem more human in a way. You get the sense that they'd been dehumanized and that her empathy it revives their empathy. It's a unique way of solving the issue of inspiring change.
Yeah, I like the fact that she is so empathetic And later on, again, you're gonna really like these next couple movies.
Okay.
Because it just dives into more of Katniss and her role as the central figure of the uprising.
Yeah.
In a way that I think is effective. A lot of people don't
Mm.
like the fact that they split the Mockingjay book into 2 films
Yeah.
because of the way my brain works, and it's politics, it's propaganda, it's the logistics of not only war but just revolution in general and how it all comes together. I love it. And I think they do it effectively. There's going to be people that hate me for saying that, but that's fine.
Okay.
So
it does set up an interesting conflict moving forward, because the first film ended with this ambiguity about what was real and what was a performance. The second film ends positioning her as a revolutionary, with the implication that this might be another type of performance. And by that, I'm not trying to say, maybe the evil repressive empire and the rebels are both kind of bad. There's bad people on both sides. It's not one of those. I think that that's always a bit overdone, I guess. There's this tendency to kind of villainize these resistance movements and stories. It's like, well, we've seen how evil the empire is. We don't.
Well, it's because a lot
The
of these
empire's doing this
resistance
at
movements,
scale.
a lot of resistance movements have baggage
Right.
with them, either uncomfortable sex of them, or like something in their mantra or something
Yeah.
like that. This one doesn't seem to have that.
Right.
So you can just view it as you have the good versus evil.
Right.
From in the Hunger Games and Catching Fire, it's just resistance against this bad empire, like
Yeah.
Star Wars, for instance.
Right.
It's just this wholesome. This is the only recourse we have in
Yeah.
the face of such evil.
And I think that, I'm not insinuating, the revolution that Katniss is moving towards, she's false there too. Just that it's
Oh.
a kind of performance. The
But
sense
this is one that she chooses, and both times
well-
both movies end with her making a
Yeah.
choice.
It is.
And-
it's one that she
and-
chooses, but it's one that also she's prepared for by others. She's guided.
She's
toward,
guided.
She's
She is.
pushed into. And so it might be chosen. It might be sincere. But there's this sense in which people are watching.
Well, see, yeah.
And every action is taken with the knowledge that there is an audience. How will this play for the cameras? How will this play to the revolution?
But I don't think she's thinking about that.
No, not at this point.
She's
But I
not.
think that that's the conflict that's set up.
Oh, for the next
for the next film.
for leaping off. Okay,
Right.
I agree with that. I think
This
yes,
sense
that's a very
of-
good critique. Yeah, or not
the-
critique, but
this sense of people are watching. People are watching what
Yeah.
you do. You're
Yeah.
You're on camera. You're performing.
yeah,
I think it's very interesting.
yeah. No,
I
that's a
think that
really good
that's-
observation.
It's and I think that it's set up by Snow. At the beginning of the film and their conversation, he's watching her. He plays security footage of her out and about in her daily life. People are watching. You're performing.
But weirdly enough, I feel like there's
interesting.
you have the difference between the first movie. You don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
In this movie, the end of the film is when she's the most real.
Yeah.
That's the most authentic version of herself. You have little moments where she's doing her audition and she hangs a mannequin and spreads Seneca Crane on it.
Right.
It does the fake bow again. Like, you have the little moments in there, but her choosing, like, that's the first time she's chosen, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And what that means is I might die right now, or I might get arrested and executed, or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm sure she thought she was going to die in
Yeah.
that moment. I mean, either by the electricity or found and executed. But it's the first time she actively chooses to do something that is crazy, and just because she thinks it's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
regardless of anybody else. Because the movie starts with her not being able to have any control over what she does. She has to do whatever Snow says, or else her family is going to be hurt or killed. And at the end of the movie, she doesn't even consider it.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to her family?
Well,
which is
there's
equally
the kind of insane discussion that she has with her sister, where her sister is like, "Yeah, we might die. You should
That's true.
Do the things you want to do."
yeah.
Like,
You can't be worried about
that's
us.
an
That's a good
insane level of maturity
yeah.
for her sister to display.
Yeah.
There's
Prim
this,
is underrated. I completely
Yeah.
we completely forgot to talk about her.
There's this real sense in which just this revolutionary sacrifice. It severs these family bonds for the sake of a greater good. The Hunger Games are an artificial environment. The totalitarian state is an artificial environment in the sense that it's constructed by people, not naturally occurring in nature. But just for Prim to look Katniss in the eye and be like, we might die. That's okay. Some things are more important. That's revolutionary.
Yeah.
That's courageous. That's sacrificial. And I think some of my complaints that I have with characters like Peeta, yeah, he volunteers.
He has a crush on Katniss, and that is the only thing that
Yeah.
he's worried about.
There's this and that.
That's the only thing he's worried
It's
about.
central to his character.
Gale shows that he's not only worried about it because Katniss wants to
right because
Katniss wants to leave.
He jumps in, yes, and he fights the commander. He doesn't do that for Katniss, but Peeta, he might be volunteering just for Katniss.
He hasn't done a single thing not for Katniss.
Yeah,
he makes a big show of it in the first one where he's like, I want to die being who I am, not who they want me to be or say that I am. And then everything he does is defined by what helps Katniss. So I guess he chose that.
Well, and it's interesting. He wants sincerity so bad, but then he's best when he's lying in front of the TV cameras.
Yeah.
There's a tragic element to his character.
Sure.
But, I mean, we see Gale sacrifice. I don't think it's effective, but I think that it's ethical. We see Prim saying these insane revolutionary things. We see... I think his name is, Cinna, the designer.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm getting the names confused. There's so many names,
Cinna.
and they're very, they're eclectic names. They got some Roman names in there. There's some other names in there, like the capital. There's just so much flair throughout the series. But Cinna, the designer, he designs a dress, knowing that the design of the dress will get him killed. It's symbols. It's aesthetics. It's making a statement with a visual language. And it's real courageous to do a thing and know you've signed your death sentence. The old man who raises the three-finger salute at the beginning, he knows he's going to die, and he does it anyway to make a statement.
Yeah.
And you see all these people in the Hunger Games, leaping out to save Peeta, cutting the tracker out of Katniss's arm, enduring all of these challenges. You see selflessness, selflessness, selflessness. You get the sense that revolution is enabled by the selfless actions of untold numbers of people who have never been recognized or have never met one another, and that it is through this collective courage they are enabled to create a better society, to forge a better future. And for Peeta specifically, I can always kind of say that's selfish.
Yeah. Even the selfless things he does.
Because it's all connected to his affection for Katniss. Whereas for Katniss, she opens with a selfless act, volunteering as tribute. And then everything she does from there, since it stems from this selfless act, it's her trajectory. She doesn't volunteer again in the second game. It's not an option. But the actions that she takes, the connections that she forms, the empathy that she brings, she displays her selflessness, her sacrificial nature in other ways, even when her agency is removed. The control that she's left with, she uses selflessly. And I think that that's her revolutionary potential. She's oppressed. She provides a glimpse into a new political system, a new revolutionary order, and she guides the way with empathy in a society that is Darwinian, in the fascist sense, in the crush the weak, obey.
The strongest survive. And the strongest is not fluid. Right. There is no class travel.
Right.
These are the strongest, and these are the weakest.
Yeah, these are the castes.
And the strongest are the ones who are going to survive.
Right, yeah, enjoy being weak.
Yeah.
And cold.
Except for in the Hunger Games. Yeah. Where then you can prove you're the strongest.
Yeah, well, and we discussed that in the first one, the limited class mobility of the Hunger Games.
The two people, the one person, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Over the course of the games, 73 people have moved into the upper classes.
Yeah, that is kind of wild.
It's crazy to think that more people from the districts have moved into the upper classes than millennials. 73, man, that's insane. 74, because Peeta's there.
Yeah, that's true.
Dear
wow,
gosh.
That's dude, if I...
No, 75, because they were in the 4th, and then 2 got in the 7th. My math is all wrong. 75 people moved into the upper classes, compared to 3 millennials.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it would be 75.
That's insane. Wow. That's crazy,
yeah.
man.
The four millennials who all own, billion-dollar companies in the AI space.
That's great. That's
wow,
crazy.
there's more class mobility in Hunger Games than there is in our real world. Is what
Dang.
we're trying to say.
Yeah. Well,
And
make of
I
that
don't
what you
even
will. That's
think
probably
that's
nothing.
accurate. I don't even come close to thinking that's accurate, but it is what I'm saying.
That's probably fine. Probably fine.
I don't know enough about it.
We thankfully we don't do anything like the Hunger Games.
No,
That's good.
that is good.
That is. Good.
I think. I mean, we have the stadiums for it, but we don't do it.
But
We have the infrastructure and everything, and we choose not to
right.
actively every day.
That's a.
And every day we will have to keep choosing not to have the Hunger Games.
It's
an active daily choice.
It's in the same way that Katniss and Cena and Prim and all these other characters choose courage and selflessness on a daily basis. I think it's admirable how we've chosen to use our gigantic surveillance state and police system to only do good every day, despite the constant temptation to use it for evil. I think that speaks to the courage and the bravery and integrity of our system, and I think that's probably for the best.
I think it's great that we've imbued our various security cameras with American patriotism, so that it only can be used for the interests of the United States.
I think the fact that Caesar looks like Jimmy Kimmel probably means nothing.
That is wild. That is wow. That's crazy. Yeah. No, I think and
it's probably nothing. You probably shouldn't read into that.
No, you shouldn't read into that because Caesar is ran and owned by the state, so
right.
It couldn't possibly be Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, because he's not run by the state.
He's not run by the state.
Exactly.
None of them are run by the state.
This is a friendly reminder that we all exist in structures that incentivize us to act wrong for our own personal gain. And you should choose empathy even when it is difficult. That's the moral takeaway.
It's the moral takeaway.
Choose empathy.
Choose empathy. And subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. And suggest other video ideas or movies for us to talk about in the comments, books, TV shows, video games. And let us know also in the comments if we truly did get lost in the plot of Catching Fire. And we'll see you next time.